to welcome everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone to the official launch of the Southwestern Sydney Nursing and Midwifery Research Alliance. We're just going to give everyone a minute to get online and then we'll commence proceedings this morning.
I'll throw to you.
Okay, so for those who don't know me, my name is Sonia Marshall and I have the privilege of being the Director of Nursing, Midwifery and Performance for Southwestern Sydney Local Health District, and I'll be your host for today. Before we begin proceedings today, I'd like to acknowledge and pay my respects to the traditional owners on the lands on which we are all meeting. And as this is a virtual event, we're all meeting on different lands. Today, I'm based in Liverpool and I'm meeting on the Cabral clan of the Darral Nation. I acknowledge this land and pay my respects to the peoples of the Darral and Dargal Nation and pay respects to the elders past, present and emerging leaders. I would also like to pay my respects to any Aboriginal people who have joined us today. This Zoom event will be recorded and I encourage you all to stay on mute unless you're presenting, and it is up to you whether you have your camera on or not. But please enter your full name as you join so that we can actually acknowledge your attendance today. If you have your camera on, please ensure that it actually is focused on your group, on you, rather than perhaps the part of your background, so that when you do come up, we're seeing your face. And as I said earlier, we would appreciate that if you're not presenting, you're actually on mute so that we can just move through this quickly today. We have a chat function enabled. So if you have any questions throughout the event, you're asked to put your questions in the chat function and we will try and get to some questions towards the end, but we will only have a short period of time. So we may need to get back to you out of session with some of those answers should you ask questions. If you're requiring any technical assistance, please let Tegan know, and she's here to provide anyone with any assistance should you need that. Now I can't actually, yes. So with our housekeeping attended, I would like to firstly introduce and welcome our Chief Executive Officer, Amanda Larkin, to deliver today's welcome address. Amanda, over to you. You're on mute, Amanda.
That might be the standard statement we'll say ongoing, could I say to you, Sonia? Many thanks. Can I welcome everyone to this really exciting day, the official launch of the Southwestern Sydney Nursing and Midwifery Research Alliance. I have the pleasure of acknowledging some dignitaries that have attended and will be attending today, and I'm really proud that you've all taken time to be with us. Firstly, Ms. Jacqui Cross, our Chief Nursing and Midwifery Officer for New South Wales Health. Thank you, Jacqui. Professor Les Bouquet, our Director of Research, both with Southwestern Sydney and the Ingham Institute of Applied Medical Research. Sonia Marshall, who you've now met, our Director of Nursing, Midwifery and Performance for Southwestern. Professor Josephine Chow, our newly appointed Professor, Southwest Sydney Nursing and Midwifery Research Alliance. And we've also got representatives from 7 of our university partners. Now, there are a number of you with us today, and rather than go through all the names, could I just highlight to you all the universities who are partnering with us. They are the Australian Catholic University, the University of Notre Dame, Australia, the University of Sydney, the University of Technology, Sydney, the University of Tasmania, the University of Wollongong, and Western Sydney University. Thank you all for attending today's launch. I just want to commence firstly by outlining for everyone the importance of research, both for the Southwest, but in terms of healthcare delivery. Research forms a fundamental platform for our strategic direction, and we have invested significantly in all aspects of research, from clinical to non-clinical. And the Alliance, I think, is a great representation of our commitment to nursing research and building on, I think, a great legacy that we've had in place for many years. But importantly, research, nursing, medical, corporate research are all critical in terms of healthcare delivery. We want to be and need to be at the cutting edge of contemporary healthcare practice. And we know that when we engage with and integrate research into the work of the health service, we can do that on an ongoing basis. And I can't not welcome you today without acknowledging, what we've been through as a health system, as a community in New South Wales, Australia, and internationally through COVID. And one of the critical aspects that's been part of that response has been watching, understanding what's happening with COVID and COVID management across the world, but also the then Secretary, Elizabeth Koff, established the Critical Intelligence Unit, and the role of that unit was to ensure that we were at the cutting edge of information and we were at the cutting edge of research that was happening across the world, and how could we integrate that into the health service. So research is absolutely essential for our work. We are continually striving to improve our care, and our engagement and work with research enables us to do that. It underpins one of our key strategic directions, and today is an exciting day for nurses and midwives across the district as we launch the Alliance and the work that the Alliance will do in collaboration with our medical, our allied health, and our corporate partners. We do need to recognise, though, that we have got, as I said earlier on, I think a good history and a long history in terms of nursing and midwifery research, and integrating that in terms of our practice. We need to congratulate Professor Josephine Chow, who has been appointed as the Professor of Nursing and Midwifery Nursing Research for the Southwest and heading up our Alliance. She's recently led the perceptions and responses in implementing COVID immunisation strategy in southwestern Sydney, known as the PRECISE study. Associate Steve Frost is a chief investigator on a number of clinical research projects, including 2 current NHMRC, MRF osteoporosis projects, and Dr. Evan Alexandru is leading the STICKY trial, which is about securing jugular central venous lines with dressings fixed to a liquid adhesive in the intensive care. These are just a couple of really important examples of the work that's currently in train, but goes before a whole lot of other work that we've done in nursing and midwifery research. I really take the opportunity today to recognise all that's been involved in establishing the Alliance, our university partners, key players within Southwestern, and Sonia, your leadership and foresight in establishing the Alliance to take us forward. Safe, high quality care is at the heart of our district. It's at the heart of what we want to do and we need to do every day. And Southwestern Sydney Nursing and Midwifery Research Alliance will foster a vibrant research culture both now and into the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda, for your welcoming and your words to actually describe the enormous amount of research that is being undertaken here in southwestern Sydney following on from the direction at the state level. And we'll move through our agenda now, and I would like to welcome Professor Les Bouquet to deliver an opening address. Now, Professor Bouquet is the Director of Research for South Western Sydney Local Health District and the Institute Director at the Ingham Institute for Applied Medical Research, and my partner in crime in establishing the Nursing and Midwifery Research Alliance. So over to you, Les.
Thank you very much indeed, Sonia. Miss Jacqui Cross. Jacqui, thank you so much for joining us. It's a great honour to have you with us. Dr. Amanda Larkin, Sonia Marshall, Professor Josephine Chow, Associate Professor Stephen Frost, distinguished Vice Chancellors and their representatives, deans, academic guests, and importantly us, you and me, the many colleagues from different allied disciplines who have joined us today. Welcome. Your participation affirms the importance of this celebration. Sonia Marshall described me as a partner in crime, and we spent many, many hours talking about this position. And she asked for suggestions regarding the title for this new and exciting position. And I proposed the word alliance. Alliance is an old French word dating back to the 1400s, which was used to announce strategic partnerships between nations, with an emphasis on strategy. The research strategy developed in southwestern Sydney is closely aligned to our strategic clinical service plan. There's no point in doing research unless it can be translated to our strategic service plan. The strategy encourages strategic alliances to achieve outcomes which will have a local, a statewide, a national, and a global impact. We aim to be competitive. Judging by the many institutions and individuals and friends that Professor Chow has allied with and who are with us today, it is evident that nursing and midwifery-led research in southwestern Sydney and at the Ingham Institute will achieve that goal. In addition, and strategically, importantly, Professor Chow has also been appointed to the position of Deputy Director Research, Southwest Sydney LHD. This underlines the importance we place on nursing and midwifery-led research. This opens new doors and it's very exciting for us. Research, education, learning, and training are linked, and it is envisaged that this appointment will enhance our plans in southwestern Sydney to establish a vertically integrated education program from preschool to higher education and beyond. A program which will offer career pathways for generations to come, both in southwestern Sydney and well beyond. All of these strategies have been carefully and deliberately developed with our schools, TAFE, and our academic and university partners, our many university partners that I'd like to acknowledge today. Professor Chow has been at the table contributing to and facilitating these plans. I conclude by giving you a brief profile of Josephine Chow. I might add that Josephine is a very, very close colleague whom I respect enormously. Josephine is very well credentialed. She's determined, she's ambitious and meticulous. If a job needs to be done, she gets it done. And importantly, she delivers, and she delivers on time. Thank you all, and my heartiest congratulations, Josephine and Sonia Marshall, and in particular, Dr. Amanda Larkin, who has facilitated and accepted our suggestions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Bouquet. As we move through our agenda, I am excited and honoured that we can welcome Ms. Jacqui Cross, the New South Wales Health Chief Nursing and Midwifery Officer, who has joined us today in her schedule. Jacqui has been in the position of Chief Nursing and Midwifery Officer now for nearly 6 years. She brings a wealth of experience to her role, holding a variety of nursing positions within New South Wales Health and beyond, as a registered nurse, a nursing unit manager, the Director of Nursing at the Children's Hospital at Westmead, and prior to my appointment, Jacqui was obviously the Director of Nursing and Midwifery here at Southwestern Sydney Local Health District, so we hold Jacqui close to our hearts. In her role, she provides professional leadership and direction on a diverse range of nursing and midwifery issues across the public health system, and is committed to the development of workplace cultures which focus on person-centred care. Jacqui, I welcome you to give your keynote address. Thank you. Jacqui, are you there? Jacqui, I think you're still on mute. Try again, Jacqui.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we've got
you.
you
There
now.
was an issue. There was a sign up there saying that I was waiting for you guys to unmute me. So we were planning all of this, but of course, at the last minute, things do fall over with technology. I was saying it's an absolute pleasure to be here. So thank you, Sonia. I think once you've worked within Southwestern, you always play a very keen interest in what's happening. And I love that you share what's happening, and I'm invited along to share some of these milestones with you too. So as I said, it's a great pleasure to be here. I would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the lands in which we're all meeting today in this virtual event. I'm actually on Camaragal land of the Eora Nation, and I pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging. And I'd also like to pay my respects to any Aboriginal people who are joining us here today. I'd also like to acknowledge Dr. Amanda Larkin, the Chief Executive of Southwestern Sydney. Thank you, Amanda. It's lovely to join you. Professor Les Bouquet, of course, Sonia Marshall, the Executive Director of Nursing and Midwifery for Southwestern Sydney Local Health District. Josephine Chow, our Deputy Vice Chancellors, Deans and Heads of School from our university partners, and any nursing and midwifery leaders that are here today, and most importantly, our nurses and midwives that are also joining this virtual cast today. As I said, I'm really sorry that I couldn't be here in person today. It seems that everything's sort of conspiring against us at the moment with viruses and now heavy weather. I was just sharing my trip in today from the Southern Highlands. It certainly is very rainy out there. So as I said, thank you so much for inviting me to be part of the official launch of the Southwestern Sydney Nursing and Midwifery Research Alliance. The nursing and midwifery professions understand the importance of continuing to develop research capability, to develop the body of knowledge that underpins our professions, to support the translation of that knowledge and evidence into our practice, and to develop career pathways, focusing in on research both within the healthcare sector and in the academic settings. All with the aim to provide safe, evidence-based care that not only improves the patient outcome, but their experience of that care. Effective frameworks and strategies that support the collaboration between healthcare settings and our university partners are critical to ensure that we're able to meet these aims. And I'd argue that to be effective, any strategies also need to be linked explicitly to healthcare priorities, with a focus not only on the research outcomes, but one that is underpinned by capacity building within our nursing and midwifery workforce to provide a truly sustainable approach to embedding research into our practice. Over the years, we've seen many examples and models that support that partnership between the healthcare sector and our nursing and midwifery university partners. And as we evolve in our approach we continue to look at how those partnerships can become most effective. Research is an essential part of how we measure, change, and value the impact of nursing and midwifery practice for the communities that we serve. And it's a fundamental skill required for effective nursing and midwifery practice, which is why it's embedded in the Nursing Midwifery Board standards for practice. How this is supported, developed, and made explicit in our everyday practice is our ongoing challenge. As I've outlined, we have a number of areas of focus, including supporting a career pathway for nurses and midwives, increasing the visibility of evidence to inform our practice, using research to better understand and support our workforce, and to understand the impact of models of care and how they support service delivery. So it's important that as nurses that we enable our nurses and midwives to be engaged in research that contributes to this evidence base from which we practice. And to do this, nurses and midwives need to grow research capabilities that enable them to critically evaluate, interpret, and apply and translate research into their practice. It's also important that nurses and midwives measure the impact of the care that we provide through research to reflect the value that we contribute to our communities. When we are able to demonstrate our value, we make our work visible and meaningful. And as Amanda mentioned earlier, the last 2 years has demonstrated this more than ever in our response to the COVID-19 pandemic. We have seen the need to respond rapidly, to implement changes, and to develop new services quickly. We've been adaptive, we've been innovative, and we've drawn on our knowledge and the emerging evidence in ways that we would never have imagined. This has meant that we've not only changed the way that we deliver care, but how we utilise and support our workforce. And we've also learnt many things that will now take us into the future. We'll continue to be challenged to approach how we do things in a different way. And research is the key to understanding and using what we've learnt to shape the future. The challenge for our professionals has not only been how we embed research into our practice, but also within our models of care. And we need to understand that at a service level, research needs to demonstrate the impact of those new models of care, how we evaluate it, how it drives new and innovative approaches that align with service planning and care delivery. In our own office, we're currently undertaking a research project to evaluate the maternal, antenatal and postnatal MAPS, our service, which is called MAPS. And for those of you who aren't aware of the piece of work, it's a modified continuity of care model for midwifery care. So we've been supporting midwives across the state to implement that model of care within their services. And we're now excited to be engaging with one of our university partners to evaluate the impact of that program, not only on the way that we support our midwives and their job satisfaction, but more importantly, on the woman's experience of their care. For you within Southwestern Sydney, LHD, we've seen a partnership with Western Sydney University to develop a research and innovative midwifery mentoring program called Southwest is Mentoring Midwives, or SWMS, which is a bit easier to say. Qualitative and quantitative methods were used to collect and analyse data from students, mentors, and key stakeholders. And early results have demonstrated positive outcomes for students and for their mentors. The initiative was designed to support the midwifery workforce, where the mentorship programs can make a positive difference to the student's experience. It also supports the direction of the Nursing Midwifery Office has long taken in ensuring not only a strong midwifery workforce, but also workforce cultures that support learning and a positive experience for our midwives. We know that this translates into better care for women and their families. So these examples, just a few, that highlight the importance of engaging and partnering with nurses and midwives in research. And as I reflect on this, I know that we've enjoyed good partnerships with our university partners who produce high-performing professionals, graduate nurses and midwives. These partnerships create a natural cycle for nurses and midwives as they enter our workforce, gain experience and further their knowledge. while building research capabilities which enables them to bring those learnings back into our clinical and workforce settings. Never before has it been so important to strengthen and build on these partnerships, to work together to build the best possible outcomes for patients and our community. Very excited to hear about this innovative approach to research for South Western Sydney Local Health District, and I'm sure that others are going to be watching with a great deal of interest. As industry partners, I'm sure you too will welcome the alliance and the possibilities that it will bring. So I look forward to hearing of the progress and the outcomes related to this alliance, and I wish you all well with your future endeavours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jacqui, for those inspiring words. And it's really important that we pick up on some key points in what you were saying there in terms of the value and visibility of the work and research undertaken by nurses and midwives. And that's one of the key things of the South Western Sydney Nursing and Midwifery Alliance, is to ensure that we are actually showcasing all of the work that is undertaken by our nursing and midwifery researchers. So building on that theme, here in South Western Sydney, we have numerous researchers. However, today, for the short amount of period that we have, we're going to hear from two of those. So firstly, we're going to have Professor Josephine Chow and Associate Professor Stephen Frost present and showcase some of the work that they've undertaken. Our first presenter will be Professor Josephine Chow. Josephine comes from a career specialty background as a renal nurse and is currently, as we've said, the inaugural professor of our Nursing and Midwifery Research Alliance in a part-time basis. By the end of this year, we are aiming to have that position a full-time position. But Josephine currently holds the part-time role of the Director of Strategy and Partnerships for South Western Sydney as well, and manages a team of staff in supporting innovation, strategy and partnership models and redesigning models of care across the district. Josephine was appointed in August as our Professor of Nursing and Midwifery Research Alliance, and at the same time, through our partnership with Ingham, she was appointed as the Deputy Director of Research for South Western Sydney. Josephine is very active in both clinical trials and clinical research and contributes to academic activities broadly with a number of publications and supervises both postgraduate and PhD students in nursing, psychology and management degrees. Josephine was the inaugural Executive Director Operations for the Sydney Partnership for Health, Education, Research and Enterprise, SPHERE. Her translational research and implementation work have had major impacts on policy and clinical practice in many areas locally, nationally and internationally. And she's also the holder of a number of research and project grants. Please join me in welcoming Professor Chow, who will be presenting on a cluster randomised control trial in Teach PD, a global approach to supporting nurses in research. Josephine.
Thank you, Sonia. In the next 5 minutes, I'm going to really showcase one of my passion. So I'm a kidney nurse, and in Southwestern Sydney, we have over 35% of our kidney dialysis patients managing their peritoneal dialysis, we call PD, very safely and successfully at home, very approachable to COVID pandemic approach. The problem with that is the major challenge for PD is still the peritonitis and infections. So globally, there are a very unacceptable variation in the peritonitis rate among the countries. So what happened in Australia and New Zealand? Surprisingly, we has been identified that the variation of peritonitis between the different PD units are up to 10-fold. So it's definitely unacceptable. So Teach PD, when you're looking at that, we spelled out what Teach PD means. It's a targeted education approach to improve peritoneal dialysis outcomes, and is actually developed by nurses, renal nurses, in conjunction with a number of PD patients, medical staff, researchers, e-learning curriculum expert, in line with all the international guidelines and the best practice e-learning technique. So we also apply at the learning principle because it's a training platform. Teach PD is the first of its kind globally digital online training platform. And we are really fortunate to receive over $4.7 million to support the development of the Teach PD. So the funding you can actually see on the side is actually majority of funding is actually from big grant funder, the MRFF and HMRC grant in Australia, and in the HRC grant in New Zealand as well. To support the development, we compete using the money, we compete the pilot study and publish. And at the moment, we competing our cluster randomized control trial globally at the moment. So Teach PD is a nurse-led trial, nurse-led study. The concept, inception, development of the Teach PD material, and the standardization all from renal nurses in partnership with a multidisciplinary team. So we have 42 clusters, all recruit. The last cluster recruit last December, and each cluster may have more than one PD units. And we actually got 50 PD units in Australia and New Zealand. Pretty much every single PD unit in the state and territory in Australia and 100% in New Zealand all participating in Teach PD, and it's really get lots of significant attention globally as well. It is a registry-based cluster randomized control trial. In translating that is really simple. Randomizing PD units as a whole, 100% of the PD nurse have to commit to complete and train and assess using the Teach PD curriculum, and then also use the material to train every single new patient. Versus those sites, those PD units randomized to be the placebo arm, they won't change any of their existing practice. The strong message today is very excited. Besides all the strong partnership with a global research team to support the Teach PD, I can reassure you that in this global study, nurses have served successfully as principal investigators and ensuring the success of the study, not only to meet but exceed its milestone timeline recruitment target. Even all of us, all of the nursing staff pretty much have to actually deploy to deal with the pandemic response for the last 2+ years. Teach PD not only builds on a handful of renal nurses in conducting the trial, but at least one PD nurse per each participating site. You can imagine 50 new nurses. Some of them haven't got any experience in doing trial and global well-designed trial, but they are principal investigator or co-principal investigator for their site, well supported by their medical counterpart. These nurses not only have the opportunity to get their hands on consenting, recruiting patients, doing the trial activities, they also complete all those required ethics, governance, and regulatory training and requirement. And most important is being motivated with doing research themselves. They are part of the team for design, implement data analysis, and of course, co-authors of the Teach PD. We have already 3 papers published in the peer-reviewed journal. So watch the space and how these nurses could do in the research field and in the research land. Thank you.
Thanks, Josephine, for sharing just a little bit of the research that you're involved in. And as we've previously said, you've got a number of projects on the go and assisting with many more. We'll now have a presentation from Associate Professor Steve Frost. Steve Frost has been employed as a registered nurse here in southwestern Sydney since 1994, having been a clinical nurse specialist and a clinical nurse consultant in intensive care. And he has also been a MET coordinator or MET CNC. Steve's worked for the Simpson Centre for Health Services Research prior to joining Western Sydney University. And Steve didn't hesitate over the last period of COVID in picking up additional shifts in our ICU here at Liverpool. And I have to thank Steve for that. Steve has a postgraduate certificate in intensive care. Oh, sorry, already said that. Postgraduate certificate in intensive care from Liverpool Hospital, a Masters of Public Health and a PhD in epidemiology from the University of New South Wales. Steve is a chief investigator on a number of clinical research projects, including 2 current NHMRC and MRFF. For those who don't know, that's the Medical Research Future Fund on osteoporosis projects, which have been successful in securing over $3.76 million in research funding. Steve will be talking us through some of the frailty research that he's been conducting and the support that he can provide some of the nurses and midwives here in southwestern Sydney with their research. Over to you, Steve.
Thank you, Sonia. Frailty and delirium and hospital mortality among older adults admitted to the intensive care, it's an example of a nurse-led project that's being conducted across the southwestern Sydney Local Health District. It's part of a larger nursing-led step-wedge cluster randomised trial to reduce the incidence and duration of delirium among all adults admitted to the ICU. This research, being led by senior nursing staff across the LHD, includes all of our 4 adult intensive care. It aims to effectively translate evidence into practice and to identify patients we care for who are at the greatest risk of adverse events while receiving critical care, such as delirium, and especially amongst frail older admissions. The development of the clinician researcher in the context of nursing and midwifery has been highlighted by a recent NH and NMRC report. Some of the recommendations from this report have specifically asked for better promotion of the role of the clinician researcher, a national strategy for the development of these research roles, and a clear career path for clinician researchers in the context of nursing and midwifery. We want to ensure there's support for nurses and midwives across our local health district to successfully build and lead programs of research. We aim to not just ensure that nurses and midwives have clearer research career pathways, but we also want to ensure that there's staff with applied research skills who are available to assist in the building of active and successful programs of research. The effectiveness of our strategy will be judged by the success of our nursing and midwifery staff researchers across the LHD. Building programs of research that are innovative, improve the quality of care, and ultimately the health and quality of the community across our LHD, and hopefully wider adoption of these innovations and evidence from our work nationally and internationally. We already have some examples of emerging and established programs of research being led by nurses and midwives across our LHD. One example is Evan Alexandria's work with the OMG study. If not one of all, the largest nurse-led study to date, it actually included 400 hospitals from 51 countries, describing the characteristics, the management and outcomes of peripherally inserted vascular access devices. It's led to a new national standard, and it's been adopted worldwide for many new policies in terms of the care of peripheral vascular access devices. Another example is Kathleen Brennan's work, which is being led by the senior ICU nursing staff across the LHD. As I already mentioned, to date, it's probably one of the largest nurse-led delirium prevention trials worldwide, and we're already planning a second study looking at collaborating with ICUs in interstate. And an emerging program of research being led by Lynette McAvoy related to frailty among older surgical patients is looking at models of care and ways that we can ensure that frail older patients who have surgery can avoid hospital adverse events. Being a nurse who's worked in the LHD since 1994, this is an exciting time for nursing and midwifery, and we are very, very ambitious. We want to be recognised worldwide as a leader in nursing and midwifery-led research. Thank you, Sonia.
Thanks, Steve. So this is where I get to actually officially launch the Southwestern Sydney Nursing and Midwifery Research Alliance. But firstly, I'd like to thank everyone for joining. Currently, we have over 153 people who have joined our virtual launch today, and we know that there are a couple of settings where there are more than one person in the room. So it's great to see the turnout. I really appreciate your attendance. It demonstrates the importance of nursing and midwifery research and highlights that we certainly have great partners moving forward. Moreover, I really appreciate our Chief Nursing and Midwifery Officer and our university partners for attending and acknowledging this important event for Southwestern Sydney Local Health District, but more importantly for nursing and midwifery here in Southwestern Sydney. Our university partners, just to give them a name, are the Western Sydney University, University of Wollongong, University of Tasmania, University of Technology Sydney, University of Sydney, University of Notre Dame, and the Australian Catholic University, who have all signed the charter and joined the Alliance. Nursing and midwifery in Southwestern Sydney has had a long history of research with the Centre for Applied Nursing Research, CANA, which was established with Western Sydney University in 1991. Since that time, there's been significant growth in not just the population we serve here in Southwestern Sydney, but also our workforce and the services we provide. CANA serves the district well, but we are now large enough to broaden our scope, hence the idea of the Research Alliance. The Southwestern Sydney Nursing and Midwifery Research Alliance is a collaborative initiative between the district, the Ingham Institute of Applied Medical Research, to promote and generate research and professional development within the nursing and midwifery professional disciplines. The vision of our Nursing and Midwifery Research Alliance is to collaborate and work with our multiple academic partners to undertake targeted research to answer the questions which we need to ensure that our research meets the needs of our community, and to build the growing evidence for nursing and midwifery practice, including a passion of mine, which is to better understand and support our nursing and midwifery workforce. The Alliance aims to improve the health outcomes and address the needs of the Southwestern Sydney community, particularly our cold population, and build strength and collaboration, strategic collaborations with our consumers, community, and industry partners that will enable our nurses and midwives to not only participate in, but lead research and translate that research into practice. The Research Alliance would not be possible if not for the nurses and midwives undertaking the research. Here in Southwestern Sydney Local Health District, we are proud to be producing internationally, nationally, and local research that is impactful and geared towards improving practice and health outcomes for the communities we serve. We will later view a highlight reel of just a small sample of the research conducted by our nurses and midwives. Please note that this is just a small highlight, as there is no way a comprehensive list of all the research that's been undertaken. As our Chief Executive and Director of Research have mentioned, we are proud to have appointed Josephine Chow as the Professor of the Nursing and Midwifery Alliance. And as most of you are aware, she will provide the leadership to strengthen and drive nursing and midwifery research and partnerships across Southwestern Sydney. In a very short time, in the middle of COVID pandemic and the floods, the Southwestern Sydney Nursing and Midwifery Alliance has already achieved several milestones, including developing and strengthening partnerships with consumers, the Ingham Institute of Applied Research, university and industry partners. We've developed a charter for the Southwestern Sydney Nursing and Midwifery Research Alliance, outlining the ambitions, and it defines and implements and maintains the standards for which we want to hold ourselves and our district to account for our best nursing and midwifery research practice. The charter envisages open collaboration to generate that empowerment of our nursing and midwifery research here in Southwest. And we are proud to announce that the charter has been signed by all 7 university partners. The partnerships with the universities represents represented by their delegates here today, either the Vice Chancellors or the Deans or Heads of School of Nursing. And I welcome you all, and I look forward to collaborating with all of you on projects that will improve not just the health and well-being of the communities here in southwestern Sydney, but also improve the practice of nurses and midwives here in southwest and Sydney, but also more broadly in New South Wales and nationally. Our Nursing and Midwifery Research Alliance has allowed our research strategy to develop a framework for nurses and midwives with reference to our district research strategy. The Alliance has conceptualised and adapted the Southwestern Sydney research strategy by articulating how the 5 strategic directions will be implemented within our disciplines. The strategic directions will guide the development of research within the nursing and midwifery professional disciplines over the next 3 years. And hopefully all our university partners have been sent the brochure, which we've tried to articulate this in a visual process. Specific initiatives addressing the priority areas within the strategic directions have been proposed and commenced. Initiatives such as establishing pathways for research, scholarships for higher degree research, mentorship opportunities, participation in multidisciplinary research groups, and quarantine time for our nursing and midwifery staff are all important to promote and generate research and professional development for our nursing and midwifery staff. This brochure and resources will be made available on the Nursing and Midwifery intranet site for all of our nurses and midwives here in southwestern Sydney to be able to access and utilise. Again, thank you all for attending this special and memorable event. And it's memorable for another number of reasons. This is a different way of us looking at partnering with our academic partners to provide research opportunities to answer the questions that we want answered here in southwestern Sydney. So I'm very excited to launch the Southwestern Sydney Nursing and Midwifery Research Alliance. And more importantly, I'm very proud of the work that's already been undertaken by our nurses and midwives here in southwestern Sydney, and look forward to the increasing work that will be undertaken with the support of the Research Alliance. So with all that said, we have a short presentation of some of the work of the research undertaken here in southwestern Sydney. And remember, please, that this is just a highlights reel. Thank you. Thank you to the team that pulled together that short presentation, just highlighting a small fraction of the research that's currently being undertaken or has been undertaken by nurses and midwives here in southwestern Sydney Local Health District. So that's bringing us to the end of our official launch. So I'd just like to invite Professor Les Bouquet to provide some closing remarks. Thanks, Les.
So thank you, Sonia, very much. This is a day of great celebration, a very happy day for me, and I'm sure for everyone who's joined us. It's a day when nursing and midwifery has been showcased and thanked for the outstanding leadership role during the pandemic. I think this is a role that we will be acknowledging for years and years to come. And importantly, it's a day when we acknowledge the huge potential of nursing-led research. And in southwestern Sydney, having this appointment, I think will help us in Australia to be global leaders in nursing-led research. Can I just take the liberty of thanking all of those people who've made today possible, both in the Southwest Sydney LHD Research Directorate and in the Ingham Institute Research Directorate. In particular, if I can thank Anna Marie de Souza and Tracy Tavuma, Rachel and Tegan, and so many other people who have made this a very slick presentation. Thank you very much. Congratulations to you all. And I've been privileged to be to play a very small part in this appointment. Thank you and good day.
Thanks, Les. So I have been monitoring the chat function on our presentation today, and there's been a number of congratulations sent by a lot of you out there. So thank you very much for joining us. To our university partners, I look forward to catching up with you all in the coming months as we actually progress some initiatives that we are just beginning to launch here in southwestern Sydney, and talk to you about some more important opportunities for us to share and collaborate. So if there's no further questions in the chat, again, a big thank you for everyone who has joined us here today. Thank you, Jacqui, for making time to be part of our launch and this exciting opportunity to do things a little differently. And to all of our university partners, I really appreciate you coming on board and taking a risk on this new opportunity with us here in southwestern Sydney. And to our nurses and midwives, I look forward to not just supporting, but seeing the great work and the initiatives that you will be no doubt coming up with. So make the most of the excitement that this has generated, and let's jump on board and generate some more research opportunities. Thank you all very much for your attendance today.